Everybody, thanks for jumping on this morning. We're excited to have you. Welcome to our Blythe Sales Business Development Series. Here we have Keith Dahl with Sandler Training. He'll be leading our course today. And if you're new to our series, I do just want to introduce you to it really quickly. This series was developed with your success in mind because we believe your success is our success, and we want to connect you to live experts with advice on ways to grow your business, whether it's through making it more efficient, bringing in more revenue, boosting profitability, down to marketing and branding. Blythe Sales is here for you. We had several topics the last couple months. This is our last round of these classes. And I can put a link in the chat box to our business development series in case there's anything next week that you might be interested in. So again, I want to thank you for joining us this morning for our business development series in regard to organizational excellence. Again, we'll be led by Keith Dahl. He's a trainer and partner with Sandler Training at Donald Group. And this is a class that is designed to be more interactive. Keith is a consultant, and he likes to go along with more of a workshop approach rather than a presentation approach. So if you feel comfortable and if you're up for it, it would be really great if you guys could turn your cameras on and we'll interact together because this is a small session and Keith has designed it for this reason. So if you feel comfortable, please feel free to turn your camera on. And with that, I'll turn it over to Keith.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Sarah, for teeing that up. There's been a lot of changes over the last, say, 16 to 17 months, and specifically, we want to make sure that that we're able to recognize why it happened in our business and what we can potentially do to, I don't know, do it on purpose in those cases. So as Sarah mentioned, this is designed to be more interactive. It's a smaller group by design, so that way we can be as interactive as possible. And ultimately, this is about what we can do to help you all with some things and some nuggets that you can plug in starting today or this afternoon with your team. I'm not a huge fan of tons of PowerPoints, but I think there's going to be some good talking points, some good visuals. I will be sending a copy of this deck to Sarah. So along with the recording for anything you might have missed, if you had to grab a phone call, and also just to be able to review the slides and pick out those couple ones that were most impactful or could be for you and your team. And as we go through this, I am going to encourage you, ask questions. Let's not wait to the end. Let's take care of it real time. Or if you have a specific situation or scenario that you have faced or currently are facing, let's use that opportunity to bring it up, talk through it, work through it, interact with some of the other attendees that are on here as well. I do recognize, as Sarah mentioned, there may be some of you that, given background, need to stay muted or stay quiet, but it is great to see everybody's smiling faces when we get a chance to do so as well. So first slide, just a quick little overview of who we are and what we do. Part of the Sandler Training Network, which means most people go, oh, great sales training. But there's sometimes a lot of things that might need to happen prior to that. And it could be organizational excellence, as we're talking about today, or maybe there's some things on the leadership team, or so there's opportunities for us to stop and think and diagnose, dissect, why did that happen? Is that good? Why did that happen? Is that not so good? And then what could be done for it today? So then our purpose for today is to be able to look back on the last year or so in your respective businesses. As many of you know, a lot of businesses, they struggled. And as we found out, some struggled just by the nature of their product or their service and the demand that was there in the market, some by the restrictions, closing things down. But others didn't do so well because they weren't prepared for any kind of inevitable change, anything unexpected. And what happens in those cases is then they start floundering and then they start trying to figure out, uh-oh, what did we miss? What has to happen? And that creates frantic and hectic times in the business, not just for the owner, but also for the team and subsequently for the clients. On the flip side, there were some who actually did a phenomenal job in 2020 because either their competitors couldn't take advantage of and couldn't serve their clients, or there was just a huge influx. And I would imagine there were a fair number of people come the end of April where they've already been a little zoomed out. They've got kids and animals and all kinds of things that are happening at the house. And they're looking outside at the warm weather. They're thinking about the pool, everything that needs to be done to get it open early. And there was a lot of orders that came in, a lot of people who were interested. However, that momentum has continued for many of you. And where we want to talk about very specifically today is how can you look back when everything's still going Mach 2, hair on fire, but how can you look back and determine what were some of the reasons that they decided to work with us, order from us, or order the quantity they did? And is that a one-time fluke, or is there something we can do on purpose within our company to make certain that we can retain and grow and expand those clients? And then what are some of the things that we did right before that we can now create as part of our business development process through this year to create more opportunities like that and to continue to grow? As we go through, we will talk about some of the, on a high level, some of the things that we do or recommend owners do to have that introspective look into their business to make certain that if you open the floodgates and you do all these great things to continue to grow, are you able to sustain it? Is it scalable? Or are you just going to be overwhelmed even though you have all this new business coming in, right? Just laying that groundwork. One thing I would like to, again, encourage is participation. The more you participate, the more you learn. Kind of kick off with a little bit of humor. I've used this with all kinds of sales organizations, engineers, etc. Sometimes our context, our perspective, our interpretation of what is happening, what is desired, or how to get there could be completely different. So as you look at the illustration to recognize what one person thinks is the reason you had success and what one person thinks might be what you need to do moving forward might be a little bit different for the rest of the team. And my goal today is to give you a bit of an outline as to how you can do that, and again, do it on purpose. So we're going to talk about what some of your fears are. We're going to talk about things that you can do to make sure that your forecasting and that your plans and that your prospecting plan are what they need to be, again, to set you up for success. So sometimes you may not be able to go audio or may not be able to go video to ask a question or share an experience. So that chat is all for you. So if you would please make sure, ask the questions, chime in, share some examples, and so you can take part of the conversation.
Hold on, I can do that.
All right. And if you would, if we could mute ourselves if we're not going to be sharing, just so we make sure we don't overstep each other. So one thing I would like to ask you to do, again, whether you want to come off video or unmute and share, or whether you just want to put it into the chat, I'd like for everybody to share what was one aha moment you had from a leadership standpoint over, we'll just say over the last year, because we are hitting almost that year milestone. Okay, so please put in the chat, or if you would like to unmute yourself and share. All right. Let's see. Anybody? Well, I could share a few things that I've heard from companies and from leadership teams, but I'd love to get some perspective from each of you. What was one leadership aha moment that you had over the last 12 months that you'd like to share with the group? Nothing? Sarah, how about you? You talk to a lot of different companies, whether they're partners, whether they're customers. What are a couple things that you've had some of those leaders share with you, perhaps specific to the industry?
Well, one thing I would say is more so of a challenge, which has been workforce and finding human resources. The leaders of these companies are having a difficult time with getting enough help to manage the the influx of all the business coming into our industry right now, and managing shortages.
Okay. Okay. So that'll be something for me to remember as we're going through, like, for example, when we get to one of those slides. Very good. So I'm going to click on here to the next, and I think there's a belief system that all of us have and sometimes don't pause enough to take into consideration. But it's not only you, but it's also your team. So 2020, people looking back or as they were going through, many times recognize that, wow, there's some things that we needed to focus on. Are we working on our business, or are we just so caught up in all the fires? What is truly important to us and the clients? Are we spending time, or have we spent time focusing on things that are nice and they're kind of good, but they're ultimately not the ones that are going to set us up for the kind of success and the kind of revenue that we're looking for moving forward? Pipeline. Any sales organization is going to have a pipeline that has some fluff. It has some, I'm not really sure what to do with it. And then it also has these are good opportunities. Let's make sure we put the time and attention to them. I think there are a lot of companies that started recognizing that not everything should be in the pipeline, and everything that's in the pipeline perhaps shouldn't stay there a little bit, or they have a hard time progressing it through. The competition. Some of you, again, you flourished because the competition wasn't able to deliver. But imagine for a moment if some of your hiring processes internally didn't allow you to get the talent you need to execute. You could lose these clients or lose these deals to your competitor. So this different perspective. And now all of us, I think, are going to start to learn or put into place what we need so we can have what I'll call a pressure tested team. So that way, when something happens, large, small, economic, industry related, we're not going to go into a panic, and we'll be able to build and continue by design. Okay. Okay. One of the things they talked about too, heard from leaders, who was focusing on goals. Some cases they weren't as formalized as they used to be. Not everybody understood the end goal. Not everybody was part of the plan, part of creating it or executing it. So these are some areas we're going to talk about. And then one of the biggest ones there in the middle of the slide is comfort zone. I think one of the things that kind of killed some companies or really hurt them was, this is the way we've always done it. And while it's been immensely successful, at some point, if you're stuck in your ways a little bit, it may be a little bit more difficult for you to be agile, to be flexible, or to do that pivot that many of us have had to do. So we're going to spend a couple minutes with an exercise that this might very well be the biggest takeaway you have from today. Again, I'm going to hit it at a high level with some perspective I think will apply to each of you. And at the same time, this will be sent to you as part of the follow-up. When we're working with our clients, and these are sales teams, leadership teams in various industries, one of the things we want to make certain is that there's consistency in how they will categorize clients or new business opportunities. And while I love the KARE model, if you will, because we want to care for our clients, I want to take some time to make sure that you've got a way to figure out, what do I do with these people that have bought or are buying from us? So the idea with the KARE model is to focus our clients into 4 different categories. And this is great from leadership, great from sales, great from marketing. So if you want to make sure that marketing and sales are aligned in the messaging and the follow-ups. So the idea, and the next slide will break down characteristics of each of these. Keep accounts are ideal clients. So by ideal client, and again, many of you will determine it differently, these are the ones that there's no way we want to leave them or want them to leave us. Ideally, we would like to find more like it because they're profitable. They order from us frequently, or they order in volume. We've got long-standing relationships with them. Perhaps there's multiple contacts within those organizations. So if somebody leaves or moves, so these are those ideal ones. Great relationships, great profitability. We just love them. Now, these are also opportunities or accounts where perhaps there's not an opportunity to grow and build it, or at least not right yet. But we always want to keep our eyes and ears open. The next category, A, for attain, this is the new business. These are people who aren't working with us. In many cases, people we haven't even opened that door and started that conversation or that relationship with them yet. But this is where we want a lot of our reps to be able to go find new accounts, go find new clients that are going to be awesome. Well, if you give a 6-year-old a hammer, everything's going to look like a nail. And no offense to salespeople, sometimes a very wide, broad goal, go find new business, can be a similar situation. So the idea of Attain will be for each of you to determine what is the type of company we're looking for. What is that category? There might be someone who buys $200 off the website. Well, do they get the same attention to somebody that might be able to order $5,000 a month? So when you've broken down what the characteristics are of your keep accounts, then it's easier for you to find some similarities in the Attain. So we're spending time, money, and resources looking for the types of accounts that are going to be those ideal clients. You're certainly going to get a number of people that are going to contact you or be referred to you to do some business. And I strongly suggest follow your process, close the business. But as you're going through it, it's an opportunity for you to go, is this a company that I think has the potential to be a keep account as we take care of this transaction, this order? Or is this just somebody who's just going to order from us from every now and then? Both are good, but it's important to know what to do with them once they've purchased from you and been part of your company. Then the expand, this is the one that most leaders are looking for. It's like, great, we got this company, they placed these orders, nice size order. Now how can we do something more with them? How do we set up a conversation to learn what's happening in their business and determine, are there other products? Are there other lines that they might be able to purchase from us? Can we put together a contract or an agreement where now there's an ongoing order every couple months, every couple weeks, every quarter? Can we have the conversation again to expand that partnership in that business? There are going to be some times where that Attain account, look, I'm going to get them because there's an immediate need, but I also understand there's an opportunity to expand them. There could be some times with your keep accounts where everything's going great and then something changes in their world, your world, or the economy in general. And maybe that might be a prompt to have a conversation and see if after 2 years of just being an amazing client, maybe something's changed and now you can have a conversation about potentially expanding them. If it doesn't happen, you put them back into the keep account, but at least you've had that proactive convo. The last category here, the recapture, might be very interesting for some of you to be able to look through your books and just evaluate who's purchased from us over the last year, the last 2 years, 3 if you want to, and then ask yourself or your team, why are they no longer working with us? Was there a change in personnel on your end or their end? And maybe there's just a little gap that a quick phone call could remedy. Is it that they had an issue perhaps with the installation or the service or someone on the team? And now there's a small customer service issue that needs to be addressed. And after it's addressed, then they can come back on board. Little caveat, and this isn't, for being proactive, looking out for you, not all clients are good clients. So as you look at those potential recaptures and perhaps compare it to the keep accounts, there might be some of them that they've gone off onto another direction, and that's okay. It's okay sometimes to have somebody leave and not work with you anymore. Because they'll come back to us, click on a link or place an order if and or when they need us. But those aren't the types of companies that fit where we really want to be for growth. So let's not put any time in recapturing them. But there are going to be some of those where hey, there's an opportunity to grow, build, expand this. So let's put some effort and put some time on there. So why is it important from a leadership standpoint to take a look at and start categorizing this? Well, from a marketing standpoint, you might be able to address the message specifically to that recapture. And I'm not the marketing person, but it could be something like, hey, hope everything's going well. Warm weather's coming. We've heard this from a few different people, haven't chatted with you lately, right? So there could be some kind of marketing campaign to go out to those recapture you've selected. So now they might be more inclined to re-engage, or you just pick up the phone and give them a call. And thinking about new business opportunities, again, from a marketing standpoint, it could be an opportunity to have a completely different message sent just to those that's completely different from the recapture. Thinking about the keep, how do we make certain that we've got some kind of messaging that's going out to those clients with updates, industry trends, just general good knowledge that they need to be getting from you. And then if something should pop up, there might be an opportunity for them to engage you for additional business. And then the expand, again, thinking about it from a marketing and sales standpoint, here's an opportunity for you to have a completely different message, which is for those of you that like shopping on Amazon, when you scroll down, it says other people who have bought this item also like this item. So you could have messages that go out in that same spirit of, if you're buying this product or from this line, there might also be an opportunity or it might be a need for you to consider this. Perhaps we can have a conversation. So when the sales team, the marketing team, and the leadership team, and then certainly anybody from an ops standpoint, understands what type of category this prospective client or current client fits in, it helps with the messaging, it helps with the internal logistics, it helps with, this is our biggest client, things are great. Maybe you need to pull in the extra manpower and extra resources to make certain that this goes exactly right, as opposed to somebody else where if we give them a phone call and take care of it next week, they're going to be okay. So understanding from an ops standpoint, marketing standpoint, and a sales standpoint, how to use this KARE model will be very, very helpful for you all moving forward. And again, this will be included in the follow-up. So a couple quick characteristics of them. Some of these you might take verbatim. Some of them you might say, we're going to tweak or expand them in our world. But again, making certain that you and your team, all parties that might be involved with both client retention and client acquisition or growth, that you're understanding collectively as a group what company goes into which category. And this is an exercise you can start on even just at a high level immediately following this session. Okay. So now we're going to switch a little bit to prospecting. And again, I have the chat open up, so please don't be shy. Send a message. If you are brave and want to come off video or unmute yourself and ask a question, there's certainly plenty of time allotted to do that. But from a prospecting standpoint, and again, this is going to the attain. Prospecting is going to be your opportunity to understand exactly what I need to do to bring in new clients, to bring in new opportunities. Now, everybody's going to have a different mix, a different plan of how they do their prospecting. What's on the screen right now is just a little bit of a guideline, if you will. And I'd like to encourage all of you to ask your team, your sales team, share with me what your prospecting plan is for the remainder of the quarter and for the subsequent quarters. And also thinking about the keep model is a way for you to understand, are they spending time, money, and resources going after the right types of clients and prospects? And what are the methods that they're doing and to get so? So one of the biggest challenges I face on prospecting is either that they're not doing enough or they're not doing it right. So either sales reps are not doing enough prospecting, which is why we don't have enough conversations and enough opportunities, or they're not doing it the right way, meaning they're just bombarding them with messages and emails and voicemails, just hoping, just like throwing pasta on the wall, hoping something might stick. Either way, this takes a lot of time and it can be a lot of money, not necessarily money spent, but money that's not, it's money that's missed. It's money that's not coming into your organization simply because the team is just going out there doing a lot of stuff and hoping it's going to work. And from my experience, hope is not a very good business strategy. So as we're taking a look at what that breakout is, I would recommend you have your team put together what are the top 5 prospecting activities that they're doing. And depending upon the product, depending upon geography, depending upon a number of different things, that mix could be different. So making cold calls is always going to be one of the 5, whether they're making 50 calls a day, 50 calls a week, 50 calls a year. They need to be willing and able to call upon the right people in the right way to initially find out whether or not a conversation can ensue, to find out whether we should go down this path about being partners and being clients. Some of you are going to be in person, and I know the restrictions can make it a little bit more challenging, although I have found more people that have made a call, jumped onto a Zoom conversation, so that way when they did meet in person, it was more to close the deal as opposed to just, hey, I'm going to be in the neighborhood, thought I'd swing by, just see what's happening just in case, or to show you what's new on this month. So I think the in-person is definitely going to be part of your business, but it might be a smaller percentage than what it's done in the past. And if this by requirement needs to be a smaller percentage, you need to make sure your sales team and their plan is designed to make up the gap or make up the difference, or again, you're going to miss some opportunities. So I believe one of the most successful marketing and prospecting opportunities that you and your team could have, and one that's probably not done as frequently as it could, is referrals. So think about those clients that you've had that fit in that keep account. Not only are you reaching out to check on them, not only are you reaching out just in case there's an opportunity to expand, but are you setting a conversation to ask for referrals? To say, Joe, Susie, we've worked well together over the last couple of years. Certainly this last one was a bit trying for us. And they're, oh yes, you're great. You do wonderful stuff. We're loyal. Well, how many other people do they know that maybe don't have that same relationship, don't have that same experience? And now to be able to plant the seed in their mind to say, but I've got this other person who was at this conference last week. They're having a tough time. They can now introduce you to that other person in their network so they can have the same type of experience. So referrals are going to be great for your keep accounts. But think about all the new clients that you just brought on, even if it's just a small piece of business, even if it's just seemingly a one-time order, but you saved the day. They couldn't get it from their other supplier, or somebody else dropped the ball and put a bad taste in their mouth. Is there an opportunity for you to reach out to some of them, not only to see about expanding the scope of work moving forward, but if you did such a great job and helped them in a time of need, chances are there's other people. Your industry and the related industries, it's a tight-knit group of people. So who do they know that you need to know? So making certain that intentionally part of your prospecting plan is including referrals from those who love you and some of those new ones who have come on board in the last few months, where you were able to save the day and you made a really good first impression. Networking events. Networking events are going to be a lot different this year as they were last year compared to years past. Conventions and trade shows, some of them didn't happen, may not even come back. Some of them have dabbled in various versions of a virtual, and I've heard some that have gone well, and I've heard some that perhaps got a lot of feedback that they didn't want to get. But at some point, you're all part of associations. You're all part of different trade groups and organizations, making certain that those things you're paying membership for and looking to learn for, can you proactively go out to the directors of and find out what opportunities they're creating for interacting, even if it's just a virtual setting, and then proactively make certain that you and your reps are plugged into any events, in person or networking or virtual related, to make sure you're getting in front of enough of the right people. And then again, thinking back to the ideal prospects that we've put into our attain is, are those types of people going to be at these events, or are the people at these events going to be able to introduce us to those ideal clients? Could be a lot of time, a lot of money that's spent on events, again, in person or virtual. So if the more fine-tuned we are about what we have that we love and what it is that we're looking for from that attain, it makes it easier for us to determine which events get our time and our talent and our treasure. And then another part I have on here are those resurrection calls. This goes into that recapture. Could it be people that have just kind of gone by the wayside over the last year? So we're just going to call and check on them, see how they're going. Or think about the things that were in the pipeline and they just kind of stalled. They just forgot to call you back. They ghosted you. Could be a good opportunity to reach out to them. Hey, haven't heard from you in 6 or 7 months. Just want to make sure you were set and had everything you need on this or on this for your clients. And that could just be an opportunity. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called. It's been crazy. It's been nuts. Yes, I need to. So again, having that mix, I will share, and for some of you, this might be applicable depending upon your role or depending upon the company. For me, speaking engagements like this is a great opportunity to meet a bunch of new leaders, meet a bunch of people that, hey, we're already doing well, but we're always committed to learning and we recognize there's always a chance to get better. And so understanding what that mix is that can put you in front of that ideal client, that's where the KARE model helps as far as making sure you're efficient and effective in your business development efforts. Okay. Questions as we're going along? All right, so I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into, put my business doctor hat on here for a moment and talk about what we'll find within organizations about what's happening or not happening that can make a difference in their success moving forward. Not going to go through all 6 in great detail. I'm going to pick out the ones that I think are going to be most relevant to this group based upon my going on 9 years working in alongside this industry. So, Yogi Berra might, once had a quote that said, if you don't know where you're going, you just might end up somewhere else. And the idea is we all need to have a bit of a GPS and have a plan for our business. And not everybody has, or not everybody revisits it frequently enough to make the little course adjustments when they need to, and they end up in a traffic jam. So as we're talking about what things we need to do working in our business and on our business and how we put the balance between the two of them, I'm going to take a couple slides and chat through that. So we'll usually put businesses into 1 of 3 different categories. We don't want to talk about that last one. Just to find out, are things where you need them to be? If you took an MRI of your business or a CAT scan of your business and you slapped it up on the wall, how confident are you that you would like the results that you saw? Many companies, they're doing great, and there's a few things they can fine tune. There's some others that as they'll go through this process, and I'm going to share a free resource for you to do just this on your own. As they go through it, they're like, wow, I hadn't really thought about that. Or, yeah, that's been an issue for some time. We just haven't gotten to it, put it on the back burner, or all these other fires popped up. And then there's going to be some others that it's just kind of average. And it might be average because they just haven't put any time and attention to it. Could be average because they don't know how to do anything different or anything better, or they were just coasting. And it's your business, so I'm not going to say how you should or shouldn't run it, but sometimes getting that third-party perspective, even if it's just something that you're working on with your team internally, as opposed to hiring somebody to help you with, it's just great to have that little gut check with your business, because none of us want to fall into that last category. And probably safe to assume that most of the companies that were in that last at-risk category probably aren't in business as of right now because of what's happened over the last year. So don't expect you to blind yourself or squint trying to read this. I mentioned that part of the follow-up here, and we've sent it with the other sessions we've done, is a blind spot survey. And it'll be an opportunity for you and others on your leadership team, take it independently, compare notes, to look at some of the key areas that we focus on to make sure the companies are aligned with their strategy, how they're structured, with their staff, the skills that they or their staff need. And again, make sure there's no blind spots, make sure there's no gaps, make sure there's nothing with your processes or your people that might get overlooked and might make it difficult for you to grow, build, and scale. So Sarah had shared earlier that there were some who getting access to talent was critical. So it could have been, I need more salespeople, I need more boots on the ground to take advantage of this opportunity. I need more who are going to actually be able to do the installations, or heck, I just need somebody I can dedicate to doing measurements all day so we can keep this thing going and we're not adding on to sometimes an already long waiting period once somebody has purchased until they can actually get their merchandise or their installation. So this will be something I'll strongly encourage to have you each take, compare internally. There is a slide at the end and a little incentive. If at some point you take the survey and then schedule 30 minutes with me, here's this Road to Excellence book, which the CEO of Sandler Training wrote about 2 years ago. It'll share some of those best practices, but it'll also share some of the same introspection that he had over the last 7 years, actually use the same project to be able to grow, build, and try to make our organization as bulletproof as possible. So that way, when the unexpected, as recently happened, comes up, we're at least prepared or at least know what we need to do to be able to zig versus zag. Okay. Couple classic blind spots that we'll find, and I'm not going to hit them all, but not having a culture of accountability halfway down the first column. So a lot of blame. Everybody's moving fast forward, building the airplane in the air. Many people made it happen, but then there's that, all right, who was responsible? So it's tempting, and in the heat of the moment, it comes out, but is there a lot of this blame game going on, or is there personal accountability? And by accountability, is it something that was clearly communicated to say, all right, Jill, here's what we're going to work on over the next 2 weeks. And we're going to go after this type of account. Here's what they look like. Here's the prospecting mix that you're going to go through. And then here's the frequency of each of these we need to do so we can create enough activity to bring in new business. Well, if upfront, Jill and whoever's managing Jill can put those things in place, put a time frame, maybe some time to check in, that's accountability. Because now Jill doesn't want to walk into a meeting and say, oops, I didn't do it. So it allows her to work to her ultimate. If there's some skills or some assistance that she needs, she knows exactly what she needs to ask to for help. But at the same time, if 2 weeks later, Jill hasn't done anything or hasn't done what was asked to do or the way that it was asked, now there could be an opportunity to find out why. And then going into the second column, even boldface, because I think it's one of the most important things from a leadership standpoint that often doesn't get the attention, is coaching. So coaching, just to put it out there, is not telling, it's not showing, it's not demonstrating. Coaching is being curious and finding out, why did Jill not follow the plan? We had the accountability, we had the plan, and Jill just screwed it up. So why is that? And being able to have the correct tools and the correct training to make sure that they can find out what's happening, why it's not happening, and see what's the reason Jill didn't do it. Because maybe some of it was Jill's part. Maybe she wasn't able technically to do some things. Maybe she was a little uncomfortable with some stuff. Or maybe I, as the leader, hard as it might be, maybe I didn't do a very thorough job of delegating to her. So there could be some mutual ownership. And coaching is a great way to understand why somebody's doing or not doing what they're supposed to, and what I as a leader might need to be able to put into place, either resources or just assistance to make sure that they have what they need. Otherwise, we're going to be doing a lot of telling. And if you've ever been in that experience where, why do I have to tell you this again? Probably something that you missed because you weren't coaching up front to find out why this thing keeps on happening. All right. So as we're looking at planning and vision, you and your leadership team might have an idea of where you are and where you want to go, but does the team, A, know what your vision is, and B, do they have a shared vision? I've worked in corporate America, I've worked in private companies, family-owned companies, all before working here. And I've noticed a lot of times where people are kind of blindly doing what they're being asked to do, but they don't necessarily see what the end goal is, or they're not excited about it. So when your company vision can also align with the personal vision or personal goals of your team, now you've got everybody that's firing all cylinders. Now you're motivated. And when it's the Monday after daylight savings time, or when something's kind of hit the fan and it's 6:30, 7 o'clock on a Friday, and they have to suck it up and do what they need to do, everybody's more inclined to do it when there's this shared vision and they're a part of it, as opposed to, oh, well, I guess I'll do it, otherwise I might get fired. And there's a lot more of that happens in business than you might realize. The other part is talking about hiring. I know there's a lot of companies that said, you know what, if we find them or when we find them, we'll have a conversation, because you know what? We always need to be looking for top talent, and perhaps that's a person that can help us continue to grow, or we know the growth is coming and we're going to need them soon. There are a lot of companies out there that the only time they hire is when they're in dire need. And not going to suggest that that doesn't work. However, a couple of the limitations could be, oh my gosh, we need to find somebody who can. And now it's a mad scramble. So other things aren't getting time and attention. But now it's a mad scramble to find those people. And if it's not clearly defined exactly what you need and what it looks like and where and how to find them and how to onboard them, you might just be hiring somebody that's essentially a pulse and a phone, and you rush through an onboarding and then you wonder 3 months later why they quit or why they're not performing. So making certain that, particularly as you're looking to scale for growth, to make certain that you can evaluate your hiring process. Do we know how to find them? Do we know what we want when we find them? Do we know how to onboard them? Are we putting all these things in place so that way they're a productive and happy employee for 3, 5 years or more? Or is this a quick turnaround and we're looking for this process every 3 to 5 months? Thinking back with the people, already touched upon the onboarding part, but also not training the management team. We see quite a bit where communication skills, not their strongest suit. Coaching, already mentioned to it. Delegating. Delegating is not like, here, take care of this, let me know if you need anything. But that has been my experience a lot of times over the years when something was delegated. Here, you're smart, figure it out. So delegating is making certain that they know what needs to be done, when they can make a decision, when you need to make a decision, when things need to be done. Get it to me by the end of the week. Well, are you hoping it's going to be done today, Thursday? Or do they really have until 4:59 on Friday to get it done? Sometimes those details make a huge sense. And there's a lot of managers that have been promoted based upon their expertise, based upon their years with the company. Maybe they just didn't run fast enough and you needed to grab someone, but they haven't actually been given those core leadership skills. And so we're also setting our team up for not being successful and not even intending to do so. When it comes to the people, and people are tough to manage sometimes, I will admit, and I've probably been one of those over the years. I always like to stop and look at this willing and able scale. There are going to be certain people that are willing to do what you want them to do, but not able. So coaching allows you to figure out what are the skill sets, whether it's technical, whether it's training in some area. Maybe is it just I can't get past my comfort zone because I've never done that. Maybe it's I need to jump on a bunch of Zoom calls and I'm not really good with technology, right? I'm willing to do it, but I'm not really able to do the Zoom call, right? So understanding this about your people. Now, there are going to be some people that as you look through the team, you're thinking, this person has a potential to do so much more than they are, but they're not. Again, using coaching the way that it's designed or should be implemented, I need to find out why this person is not working to their potential. Is it me? Is it them? Is there maybe something that's happening in their personal life? And we don't get too nosy, but something that's happening in their personal life, given the what's going on in this world, where I can help them in some way, directly or indirectly, to help get that alignment so they have what they need to be able to work to their potential. I think it goes without saying, if it's somebody that's not really able to do it, not really willing to do it, probably shouldn't be on your team in the first place, or it might be somebody that you're going to need to look to replace. Hence why it's good to have that up-to-date hiring process in place and always be in that recruiting mindset. And for some of you that might be in that, oh my gosh, I need to find more people like this, fill those positions. But then I'd strongly recommend paying attention on the blind spot survey to some of the things that are happening or not happening internally in your world. How do we make sure we're always in a recruiting mode for this type of position so we don't have to go through this panic attack every single time? Again, blind spots also are best practices, and this might be more challenging for some of you than you'd like to admit, but there are certain things that you did over the last year that worked, and they worked really well. But do you know exactly what you did to replicate that? So make sure you write it down. talking to your sales reps. What were some things that you said, you saw, you did, or you learned that created great opportunities? Let's make sure we have it documented somewhere so we can continue to do it and replicate that same success instead of trying to start from scratch every single time, which can be both exhausting and very, very time consuming. Okay. And again, having the methodologies and systems, I make references here all the time to football teams. There is a reason the offense has their playbook, the defense has a playbook, and the special teams have a playbook. Because if one person jumps from one team to another, they could walk in, take a look at the plays, go into their regular practice, and come game time, they at least have the potential to execute effectively. Same thing needs to happen with inside businesses to make certain that we're all following the same playbook instead of everybody going out there doing their own thing in their own way. And then when you're trying to debrief, to focus on new initiatives, to focus on money marketing, to focus on anything to grow the business, it might be difficult to take 5 different types of data from 5 different people with 5 different systems and figure out what you as a leader might need to do to continue to grow. Performance. Mention about the accountability. I'm not suggesting micromanaging because I have been that salesperson who's had somebody like right here breathing down on me seemingly every hour asking if I've closed anything yet. I've also had organizations where I hired you to be successful. Go do it. And I don't hear from them for 2 or 3 weeks. So how do you make certain that you're putting something in place for a quick Monday morning check-in, quick Friday afternoon check-in, just to make certain that they're doing and working their plan, and then at the same time to make sure if there's something they need from you or somebody else on the team, that the sales team is getting what they need to be successful in their efforts. So as we're wrapping up and trying to think through both successes, what worked, what didn't work, why not, love to get some additional feedback here from the group as to, was there something you saw today or thought about today that you're going to take into a meeting with your team and say, what have we done here? Where are we going? Was there something perhaps about the KARE model that, again, we'll be sending to you to take a peek at, where you're thinking, you know, this might make sense to get head of ops, head of customer service, and head of sales together and just see which clients they would put into which categories and see, are we aligned or if there's some changes we need to make. Love to get some feedback, again, either via the video, audio, or if you prefer to put it into the chat, just to see how we might be of further assistance to you today to get some of those nuggets and create some momentum in your business. Sarah, if you wouldn't mind perhaps sharing one aha, and I know we've worked through some of these and you've seen this session before, but maybe if you can suggest one thing, it'll kind of get the ball rolling here for others to share as well.
Yeah, sure. So I think we all work with other people, and I think we could all relate that better communication and keeping everybody on the same page is valuable. So for me, an aha moment might be with our new CRM. That's just something personally that I'm working on for Blight Sales. So just getting reports together, making sure everybody is briefed and debriefed properly, and keeping everybody on the same page, keeping everybody consistent. I think that's excellent.
Okay. And I have to say, and I'm not suggesting it's your team, but I've heard quite a few times where the accountability with regards to using the CRM can be a bit of a challenge, but then pausing instead of, I spent good money on this CRM, you need to put it in, right? We don't want to be that's not coaching, but to understand, okay, why are they not putting it in the CRM? Because as a salesperson, that's a lot of information right at your fingertips. Very easy to put yourself a reminder. So, oh, I forgot the call, right? It's very easy. There is the data entry part. So the coaching, if there's accountability to it, the coaching would be to understand, again, willing and able. Are you willing to put it in? You just physically aren't sure how to navigate the CRM because it's different or it's new, or you're perfectly capable of doing it. You're just like, I never needed one before, right? So understanding those, whether it's CRM or whether it's building a prospecting plan or, you know, understanding those things are going to be very important for you as a business owner. Okay. Any others that would like to share some takeaways? I know some of you may not be in a position where you can speak openly. Certainly feel free to throw the question in the chat. Well, with that said, then I don't want to take up more of your time than's necessary or bore you with some other details too. I definitely want to appreciate you carving some time out. I know some of you are going to be digging a little bit deeper into the recording and maybe the deck that's sent to you as well when you have time to process it more. Part of my thank you to everyone who's attended part of the business development series here is the follow-up. We'll have a recording for this. It'll have a PowerPoint with the slides that I shared. Certainly take a look at those, read through them, share them with your team. And then secondarily, I'm going to have a link to that blind spot survey that I put through. For those of you that would like to click on it and take a look at it and fill it out and see where you are at the excellent, well-run, average, hopefully not at risk, take a look at that. And then at that point, if you thought, this wasn't quite where I was hoped or where I wanted it to be, more than happy to have a 30-minute conversation with you just to be able to determine maybe some best practices, maybe some quick fix or a resource. I could send it to you. If you do take the survey and schedule that 30 minutes, I will send you either an electronic copy or hard copy of that Road to Excellence book, something for you to put into your library and to help you through that process. So Sarah, before we wrap up, any other questions or comments or plug for the next event?
So I just put in our chat box here my email address in case anybody has any questions or any feedback about our business development series or this session. And I also included a link to the rest of our business development series. Again, next week will be our last and final round of these classes. We've done them live all. Jason Simon. He has a late start, but thank you for the helpful information. Thank you, Jason. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So again, Keith has recorded this video and we will send this up, we will send this to you as some follow-up information and a follow-up email. And again, if anybody wants to schedule 30 minutes to speak to Keith about your blind spots, he is more than happy to do that with you.
All right. And then Sarah, as my thank you to bring me into the series and help me work with those in your network, I'm going to send a copy of that book for you and Clint to read. So if you would just send me an email, the best mailing address rather, and I'll go ahead and get that out there this week.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, everybody. Stay safe, keep selling, and hope we get a chance to chat sometime soon. I'm committed to making sure that your business grows by design and not by circumstance.
Thanks, everyone.